No mai haere mai, welcome to 3 News. Māoridom is in mourning tonight and Aotearoa has lost a great unifying force following the death of Kiingi Tūheitia, aged 69. The Māori king had just undergone heart surgery, but while recovering in hospital, he died in the early hours of this morning. Karanamaruru is at Tūranga Waiwai and filed this report.
Hundreds gathered in Ngāruawā here today, patiently waiting to pay their respects to the late Māori king, Te Ariki Nui Kiingi Tūheitia, and reflecting on the impact he's had on people's lives and the lessons he's taught.
Come together so we are all together. Whether you white, black, brown, yellow, purple, orange, all the colour of the rainbow. That's all our boss wanted, all our king wanted.
Tūheitia will live on. He'll live on and he'll be forever mortalised through the kingitanga and the movement.
His leadership skills have been absolutely amazing to our nation and our people. We're all here today together for him.
It was just last Monday that his 18th year as king was celebrated at the Koronehanga. In scenes reminiscent of his late mother's passing, people have travelled from near and far to mark his loss too. He arrived at Tūranga Waiwai this morning, a humble man of the people, raised in a royal family.
He was a mechanic, he was a father, he was a man of his people. As he also said, he didn't want a title, but because it wasn't his decision.
Kiingi Tūheitia's body will lie in state at his marae here in Ngāruawā. He'll be here for 3 days. From Sunday, members of the public can come to pay their respects, but for the next 2 days, we as media must keep our distance. The Prime Minister, who's in Tonga at the Pacific Island Leaders Forum, paid his respects.
He did a lot to strengthen the kingitanga, and we're going to miss him sadly.
King Charles also sent a message saying, "My wife and I were profoundly saddened to learn of the death of Kiingi Tūheitia. I remember with immense fondness meeting him many times. Is a particular shock in view of the fact that I had only very recently spoke to Kiingi on the telephone at the beginning of August. A mighty tōtara has fallen." It's expected many more people will visit Tūranga Waiwai over the coming days, before the king is laid to rest at Taupiri Maunga, near his mother, the late Māori Queen, Te Ariki Nui Dame Te Ata Irangi Kahu, and his ancestors.
Although his vessel has passed, the spirit of him is here with us and the people, which is eternal. One whakatauki that I'll always carry in my heart is the words that he left for Te Iwi Māori, which was just be Māori every day. We are strong and we are here to stay.
A legacy fit for a king.
Well, before he became a king, Tūheitia was a truck driver and a lover of rugby league. And when it came time to take over the leadership, he seemed a bit reluctant and uncomfortable with it. But he grew into the role, showing a quiet strength without losing his humility. Here's Laura Tupou.
Te Ariki Nui Kiingi Tūheitia was crowned Māori king on the day of his mother's tangi, and so continued more than 160 years of tradition. The position of Māori king isn't hereditary, but kingitanga leaders have always chosen monarchs from his family. The late Tainui elder Hare Puke once spoke of their great responsibility.
They are obligated, whoever it may be, to make sure that they do not bring shame not only on them, bring shame on those who passed on as well.
But a measure of shame was brought by the king's youthful son, Korotangi Paki, when he was arrested for theft and burglary. The teenager pleaded guilty and was discharged without conviction, leaving the king to make an unreserved apology. It was a domestic distraction from a role that has seen Kiingi Tūheitia represent Māoridom everywhere, from the United Nations in New York to the Cook Islands. In 2011, he led a hikoi to the Waitangi Tribunal in defence of kohanga reo and united Māori in opposition to the Crown's policy on water rights.
We must not allow the government to divide and rule us again.
In 2014, ill health forced him to step down from public speaking. His eldest son, Whatumoana Paki, was chosen to represent him. A year later, Kiingi Tūheitia announced his return to full-time duties, acknowledging the diabetes and cancer that had weakened him. In recent years, he's become more involved in politics. In 2019, he brokered relations in the land dispute at Ihumātao, guiding mana whenua to a united position. And with the incoming coalition government, he called for kotahitanga unity and held a hui to discuss a way forward and showed his sense of humour.
You know how Winston talks about elite marriages? We're all elite marriages.
Kiingi Tūheitia is survived by his wife, Mako Ariki, and their 3 children. He was 69.
Well, as you saw, we had just seen recently Kiingi Tūheitia at Te Koroneihana, the anniversary of his coronation, and he attended the Paris Olympics. Earlier, I spoke to Julian Wilcox, host of The Hui, and began by asking him, given that, how much of a shock today's news of his passing was.
Tēnā koe, Sam, this is a massive shock. You're right, just days ago, Kiingi Tūheitia reinforced the message to Māoridom and his clear message to the Crown and to the government that Māoridom strives for mana motuhake and tino rangatiratanga, and that will be presented in various forms and ways, and he will be a staunch advocate for those and will lead Māoridom in that way. So to have him lost so soon after the Koroneihana celebration and commemoration events, and only 18 years after the passing of his mother, Te Reki Nui Tā Tairangi Kahu, in 2006. It was a shock. It is a massive loss. There is a lot of grief. There are a lot of tears being shed here at Tūranga Waiwai Marae here today.
Julian, you've been inside the marae. Can you describe for us what it's been like in there?
Look, people want to reflect. People want to acknowledge the tremendous work and industriousness that Kiingi Tūheitia showed in bringing Māoridom together, particularly this year. There have been 3 hui ā-motu, the first held here at Tūranga Waiwai in January, the second held at Waitangi on Waitangi Day, on the lead up to Waitangi Day, the third held in Ngāti Kahungunu in Hastings, and the fourth was due to be held on October 22nd. And people are saying that the King was really keen to attend that event and to hear what Māoridom had to say. So the fact that he won't be there is a massive loss. The fact that he is lost to us now is huge. And as I said, there is a lot of grief, but there's also a lot of reflection on his time, on his service, on his aspirations. And again, the wish and the desire for that work to be continued and for the stewardship of that work, yes, to be undertaken by Waikato, but also all of Māoridom, who I'm sure will support that call, but also share their grief and affection and great love for King Tūheitia over the next 6 days.
So Kiingi Tūheitia is now lying in state. What is the procedure that's followed from here? Are there plans in place for his tangihanga?
Look, they will be working over that, over the next few days. What will happen is, so we've just seen Ngāti Mariapoto Ngāti Raukawa. These are the people of Tainui Waka who have just made their way onto the marae here today. That will happen again tomorrow. People from Hauraki and from throughout the Waikato will make their way here today and tomorrow. They have been set aside for the people of Waikato. After that, it is open to the motu. Māoridom will come here as they did in the time of the passing of the King's mother, Te Reki Nui Tā Tairangi Kahu, in 2006. They will come in their multitudes, and plans have been put in place by some iwi to get together and prepare what they are going to say and who will speak and who will do the waiata. All that's going to be happening now. In terms of the funeral itself, not only does it obviously, not only do Waikato undertake the funeral procession, but also the coronation of the next leader, of the person who will retain the mantle of the kingitanga going forward, will be announced. One of the key topics that will be discussed over the next few days is who should that person be. That is a discussion for the motu, for the rest of the country. Waikato Tainui see themselves as the guardians of that kaupapa, and they will stay tight-lipped and let the nation decide.
Minds will certainly be turning to figuring out who that successor is. At this stage, is there any idea who it might be, Julian?
Look, there isn't, Sam, and that's a big question, and I know people who want to speculate about what would occur. That is the reason why this process happens. Not only do people come and share their grief and acknowledge King Tūheitia and his work, but they will also say from their perspective and from the perspective of their regions and of their people and of their iwi and of their hapu, what they think should happen next and who should undertake that role. Now, if you were wanting to put bets on these kinds of things, and I think it's a little bit inappropriate for people who might want to do that, you might look at one of the children of King Tūheitia. But again, that is a discussion for the nation, and the nation will make clear how they feel about it, and then key personnel will undertake a decision-making process in the lead up not only to the King's funeral, but also the coronation of the new leader on Thursday next week.
Ngā mihi, Julian. Julian Wilcox there from the hui at Tūranga Waiwai Marae.
Tēnā koe.
As mentioned, in recent times, Kiingi Tūheitia had become more involved in national politics, and even those whose policies he challenged had nothing but fond memories and admiration to share today. Here's political reporter Glenn McConnell.
Kiingi Tūheitia was softly spoken, not one to fight for attention, but when he spoke, people listened.
Te iwi Māori, you really are magic people.
And he hadn't held back in recent months as he rallied ngā iwi Māori to stand against the coalition government's policies impacting tangata whenua.
When we travel overseas, we are respected and we are valued. But at home, things feel a bit different.
Even as he butted heads with the coalition, tributes flowed from across the political spectrum after the news that Kiingi Tūheitia had died. At 69 years old.
Look, we're organising a party to attend his tangi.
He was always respectful. He always wanted to see engagement. He appreciated that people had lots of different views, but he was always trying to pull it together.
He had a very great sense of humour, but you had to be there to realise what it was like, and I think other people have that memory of him as well.
He's well regarded for having never raised his voice or spoken an ill word, and I think that's a very positive thing.
His death came as a shock, especially because he had been so busy in recent months. He played a pivotal role organising Māori opposition to the coalition government, taking the extraordinary step at the start of this year by issuing a royal proclamation, Te Paki o Matariki, calling Māori together for the first hui ā-motu. Talk from ministers about dialling back the use of te reo, removing treaty obligations from oranga tamariki, making it harder for Māori to claim customary title to the foreshore and seabed, amongst other grievances, had pushed the king to take a stand.
I know he was anxious about where we're at as a country right at the moment, and I know that he was very keen for us as political leaders to light a way forward that was more positive.
In a statement, Te Pāti Māori co-leader Debbie Ngārewa-Paka remembered him as a grassroots and humble leader who shared aroha, advice and also growled the co-leaders.
We have seen the likes of the calls from the Kiingi to come together at the start of this year to unify in response to what many saw as attacks on our founding document.
And thousands had come together at Tūranga Waiwai to hear Tūheitia's key message.
Just be Māori. Māori all day, every day. We are here, we are strong.
A message of pride and kōtahitanga that will last. Moi mai rā, e Kiingi.